All right, guys, I guess we're gonna get started here. Um, so question, I know Demetrius has driven around and found some places to build. Has anybody else driven around and identified the, Bob McClay had a great way to describe them as salt boxes.
Yeah.
Right, salt box?
Salt boxes, I've never heard that. Demetrius, what did you find when you were driving around?
Ooh, I found just like a bunch of houses. What do you mean? I don't understand.
What did you run into though? Was it hard getting the address? Was it hard getting the phone number? Was it hard? What? Or was it easy peasy?
It was pretty easy peasy.
But there's a lot out there.
Yeah.
Like even though you see construction all over the place, there's still a lot left to be done. Right.
Right. It's just putting in the work of like driving and doing it, then researching afterwards.
What website did you use to pull up addresses for home addresses? Tax records?
Yeah.
Gotcha. And anybody online, Christine's paying attention. So if you guys have a questions, throw it in the chat box and we'll be able to talk. So since our last meeting, we have discussed with a couple people prospects of building. Some lots actually have come on the market that we've worked numbers out to see if they make sense as an investor, as a agent. But what we've seen is the market is still going crazy. There's still a lot of people looking to buy houses. And what I've learned is the other markets, be it Avalon, Stone Harbor, Seattle, Ocean City, are exploding, and there's no inventory there. It's going to drive people to where there is some inventory. So it's one of those where if you get those listings and you advertise them to the places where these people live, you're going to get activity. You're going to sell things. What else? What do you find with the new constructions?
What do I find with them?
Yeah,
What do you mean?
with clients.
Clarify.
Clients, are they looking for the new construction? Are they looking for just bigger houses? Are they looking for condos? What's the majority of the people that come on this island looking for?
The ones, well, I think new construction, but the ones I'm personally working with are looking just to get their foot on the
Foot
island.
in the door.
Yeah, just get the foot in the door. Let's get something, and then we'll upgrade. We'll upgrade later.
So, like Kathy just said, we're going to upgrade. So people will get on the island and get what I call in the game, and they'll get in the game at a lower price point. And as the market grows, the value of their home that they got in is going to grow also. So, say they get in 4 years ago, 5 years ago, what they paid for that house is now worth, what do we say, probably 25% more.
Things are up 25% here in the island since last year.
So 25% more in a year.
In a year.
So those people can take what they purchased, roll into a nicer home, roll into something that's going to make more in rental income, and more than likely their interest rate or their mortgage payment is going to stay the same because they're taking the equity that they made and putting it into the new house. Better interest rate too. And like Bob McClay said, rental income goes through the roof. If you have a new construction with 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, 6 bedrooms, it's not uncommon to get $7,000 for a rental for a week. So these people that are buying the new constructions or buying the bigger houses, they have the opportunity to rent for 2 weeks or 3 weeks and pay their taxes for the whole year. So while we're on that, rentals. If you guys see a new construction get sold and you see it reported on who buys it, reach out to them and see if they're going to rent. So don't stop and say, oh, I missed that, I didn't sell my house. Reach out and say, are you going to be renting your home? If so, I would love to rent it. $7,000 commission rental is not bad. Yeah, yeah, that could be profitable. So the next step is once we get that property, we identify it, we reach out to the person. Joe, I know you've been working with Dimitri. What sort of feedback have you been getting? What sort of Comments?
We're not getting called back right now.
Okay,
We're calling a lot of people, but not getting called back.
gotcha.
Why?
I don't have the answer.
Are
You
you,
think it's timing or?
No, they might all be dead because he's picking all old people.
I'm looking for the houses that everyone told me to look for, and it just so happens that they're old, like really old.
they're all, that's the point. That's,
Do
that's,
they live there?
But even like the kids aren't calling back. Because there were one people that was, they were like old,
Yeah.
and then we looked up the kids' names.
Well, their kids were 64.
Right.
These people had to be 120.
Yeah, their numbers were like off. Their cell phone numbers were no longer in service, so we figured, we'll call. But they're not getting back either.
gotcha.
I don't know.
So maybe letters.
I told them that.
Yeah,
I
that's
said,
like
just
my
don't
next-
walk up to the house with a mask on because they probably shoot you.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe letters going to wherever it's supposed to go, and then, if something did happen to the owner, the mail's gonna be forwarded.
Right.
That's what I was telling them before. I was like, a lot of people who, I was contacting House and Ventnor, and it said that one of these tax tools that the guy that was his permanent residence was that property in Ventnor. But like we went through a vacant house that clearly nobody was living in. Like I was like, oh, his mail's getting forwarded. I don't even know. I didn't think about that. So
Yeah.
I sent a letter to the Ventnor address. He got right back to me.
There's a lot of detective work in tracking down the owners of the older houses.
He does the numbers good.
I'll tell you what, if you can get a good phone number, that's 3/4 of the battle.
Other people are we're getting voicemail, but we're getting answers. Nobody's just calling us back.
Gotcha. What sort of message are you leaving? What sort of message are you leaving?
I am Joe, I'm with Carl Williams, and we have a builder's interested in your house.
Maybe it's just something shorter.
Shorter than that?
Call me back.
Call me back. Got a great opportunity for you.
That sounds like a scam.
It is.
Yeah, but
When you say you're a real estate agent,
They're not calling you back.
Yeah.
but if they are interested, I feel like they probably would.
Yeah, if they are interested, but they might not even know what you're proposing.
Right.
They might still be thinking that their house is worth $150,000 when it's worth $600,000.
I get these phone calls from my properties I own in Philly still. 'Cause I just like walked away. And
Just slumlord.
no, I just totally walked away. I don't care. And they're all trying to buy them now because they're all neighborhoods that are worth 120. And I was telling Dimitri, I want you to hear this conversation so you can see how the other side is. And I'm trying to get a listing off of me.
Yeah. And it's like you said, they might be interested if they knew what we were trying to do. If they knew that their land was worth a certain amount of money and they could buy a bigger house a block away.
We also call builders to try to get some square foot prices in Whitey. And they're ludicrous down there. They're crazy. 350 a square foot. I said, excuse me?
That was Oasis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a lot. That's a lot.
like double what it should be.
That's a lot. Yeah, those numbers. But Margate never made sense to me either, because people will spend the same amount of money for a new construction as they will a tear down just because they want to live on that street. So I never understood Margate numbers to begin with. That's why I never tried, because it just
My brother just knocked one down in the city. He paid 6.3 million. And my brother's like, that's nice. He goes, my wife don't like the flow. He goes, your wife should be in the bay.
yeah, that's like I said, as we see numbers all across the shore keep going through the roof, it's going to be driving everybody to Brigantine. I had an Ocean City agent call me about my place in Seattle, and we got on the topic of Brigantine, and he literally said that's his next venture, is because he says to find a piece of ground in Ocean City, you have 82 people all offering huge amounts of money, and he says Brigantine, you can still get somewhere and get the ball rolling without 80 other agents on top of
Do you know
it.
who Kevin Chacon is?
No.
He's Keller Williams up somewhere else. And he's trying to get one of mine. I said, just make the offer. I'll take it.
And
They're willing to knock the house down and build it.
And that's what we're seeing all across the shore is outside agents from Voorhees, Cherry Hill, Morristown. actually coming to the beach to sell property. That didn't used to happen. So it's one of those where, we need to be ahead of the curve.
Well, I got another one from Berkshire Hathaway up north. The lady called, they got, and she shut.
It's a wonderful day, Keller Williams,
For
Ryan
sale,
speaking.
her son. Her son's a lawyer. You represent her
Okay.
son. Imagine that,
No,
her own company. It's-
actually, it's not surprising with some companies nowadays. But so the next step is, what are we saying to the people? If we're getting more people on the phone, we're getting somebody on the phone, we need to understand what our ratios are. And if we're making progress, good, stay on that same track. If we're not making progress with the conversations, what can we change it to open up the conversation? And then once that happens, you see where people are leaning towards. Every conversation is going to be different because you're going to run into the kids that want to sell the house. Then you're going to run into the kids that want to keep the house. 9 times out of 10, you're going to run into where one kid wants to sell, one kid wants to keep it, or 2 kids want to sell, 1 kid wants to keep it, and they can't afford to buy the other kid out, and they end up suing each other and hating each other and yada yada yada.
And it's all
No, it's going to happen. It's
We
going to
got-
happen.
We got a son and a daughter. Talk to the son, because usually son wants the money right away.
Yeah. And it's every teardown in Seattle that I ran into that was kids, they all ended up suing each other because they couldn't afford to buy the other one out and they wanted to tear it down or they wanted to keep it. So it was a mess. So when you run into that older person that their lifelong dream is to leave it to their kids, you're like, listen, why don't you sell it? Kids that want to keep it, they buy something new with the proceeds, and then the kid that wants to cash out, they just run away with the money. So definitely different avenues for different ideas of what they want to do. But the good news is, like you said, driving around, you're seeing a lot of these houses out there. And then you can specialize in a certain zone. You can specialize in the north end, the south end, the A zone. The A zone obviously is more appealing because it's the A zone. You don't have to build something up on
People
stilts.
get shot at.
And then areas where you can put the townhouses. I did see that little street down in the north end that you can put townhouses up. Those obviously are that land's worth a good amount of money because you build one building and you sell 2 units out of the one building. So it's kind of a 2 for 1. Your construction cost really goes down because you're building one house, but you're selling it twice. More bathrooms, but and then Demetrius, like we were talking, you can do stuff with your commission. If it's an older person that wants a certain amount of money, don't go into it saying, I'm going to sell this no commission whatsoever. I'm going to get my commission on the outset. But if you get close to a deal where the people want a certain amount of money,
fine if I have to go there.
you can go there if you want, but don't go there right off the bat because then you're out of bullets in case you're close.
And the old people tell each other.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. They do. It's a can with the string.
It's called
And it's
church.
effective.
Yeah.
It's called church.
Yeah. So once you do,
I want to like start. That's why I want to know like all of my, and that's
It's
a
gonna-
really good option to have with labs.
yeah, there's a lot of
They
options.
need, then, like,
Yeah,
I'll do it.
Taking money away from yourself is always the
Yeah,
last
okay.
option.
I don't totally care.
Well, you will if you do it like 6 times.
Sell it.
No, but I mean,
Because once you start that, it's hard to get out of it. You know what I'm saying? Once you waive your commission for this person and 4 other people know that, how do you talk yourself back into getting paid?
I would say, oh no, but they were my friend's aunt, and I only do that for family.
They might adopt you.
Anyway,
I mean, if they adopt me and they leave me a pretty sizable inheritance,
You're in?
I wouldn't do it for no
Trust
commission
funds?
either.
I'm talking trusts
Yeah,
here, like,
I'd be
oh.
like, oh, well, I'll do it for free on TV.
All I have to do is change my last name.
Like,
Jen Freeman says it's a business, not a charity.
Yeah, good girl, Jen.
Good.
I understand that. That's why we do it.
I mean, it is nice getting paid. I mean, the whole reason we're talking about this is so we don't run into selling lots for a certain amount of money. Instead, it's selling new construction. Finding the lots is the hardest part about the business, as we're seeing. So when we run across those, we want to know what our options are. And we want to know that, it's okay to make a lot of money in real estate. Like, you don't have to keep selling the lots. You don't have to keep selling the condos. You can move on to sell expensive things and be happy. What other sort of questions? Where's Jordan at?
I don't know where Jordan's at. He's very all over the place right now. To say the least.
Joe, what do you see in the new construction, in town lately?
Well, I got a lot of people making offers on my lot now.
On the one coming in?
Yep.
Or coming out?
And the one's on Harbor Beach.
Is it builders or is it investors or what?
What investors, they want to live there.
They want to live there. So it's end user.
Like right now, we're up to 500 on the one. Then one that I don't even have listed, they know it's my friend, I got an $800,000 offer on the Zoom. On the 5 won't get fire. And that was over 999. So, waterfront lots are definitely still the way to go.
And then the waterfront lots, you got to deal with CAFRA and all that kind of stuff. CAFRA's mean people that take money.
That's zoning and
What does it stand for?
Yeah, coastal act.
It's beachfront and bayfront.
Mostly, you can't, if you're building within 70 feet of the footprint of the building, you got to go with that.
And then, Joe, do you have issues with dune lines in Brigantine? So you get a dune line delineation and then a certain setback from the dune line.
The best thing to do is when you're selling it, talk to people and getting a survey.
Yeah.
So you know what your footprint can be.
so you know exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody.
And then your dune line can encroach. Like if you sell a beachfront or somebody that has a beachfront, make sure they have a fence up that keeps the dune away from coming onto their property.
Once sand comes in, the sand can eat up your.
Take away from
Yeah, where the dune goes, the dune stays.
Yeah, you're not allowed to move in.
Yeah. Yeah, the
We did
dune.
it one time with bulldozers. We pushed everything back and they were all there the next day.
Yelling at you?
Everybody that's involved in policing the dune line.
Yeah.
Was there every time.
Yeah, you had like the merchant marines.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
big freaking deal.
Yeah.
Well, it's cost millions of dollars for all that dredging that they do for them.
Well, and then it's also, people can lose most of their property because if the dune grows in
Yeah.
and they go to build, they can't.
Everything existing has to stay and you can't change
You
it.
cut the trees down up to a certain foot. Nobody knew that before.
You could top them, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You cut them off.
Okay.
Because a lot of times people are just saying.
They-
Get to the top.
Because they need the root system. So when you get closer to the bay or on the bay, on the ocean, certain other things come into play, but either the architect or the surveyor or the builder will help you through that. And then, the big thing is just making those phone calls, finding the properties, making the phone calls, and keep the list. I used to have a notebook with literally each street of what lots are available on each street. So if I had somebody that came to me and said, I want a new construction, but I want between, 32nd Street and 43rd Street, like I knew what lots were available. Instead of getting in the car and driving every time somebody says something like that. And then you keep the phone number, the mailing address of whoever the registered owner of that house is. And even if they don't answer, keep sending them mail. Because there's going to come a time when they say, okay, like, there's my number. Like, now's my time. Now the kids are going to college. Now I'm going to sell. Now my kids are not coming to the shore. Now I'm going to sell.
I was trying to tell you. Why would they remortgage it? They own it. Because they might need the money. That's what he's saying. Exactly.
My dad's refinanced his house 3 different
Yes,
times.
that's
So it was the same amount that he bought the house. He said, we get the college and all that crap. 25 years into his mortgage, it's almost the same as it was when he signed it. So
Yep.
his interest rate is 13 times lower and fine with it.
What's the word? What's his word?
The word that he said before that, I said, there's a little kid here.
Ah. I whispered. So yeah, there's always going to come a time when those people decide to build.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't think so, drive through Ocean City or Seattle or Avalon or Stone Harbor. But a time came, a number came, something happened where they said we're tearing it down. I mean, there's not a larger majority of single family homes starting in Brigantine than all the other shore towns. The other shore towns just develop theirs. So we know what's going to happen. We're just trying to get in front of it. So that's the thing is, just keep track of the people. Keep sending them stuff. If it costs you, what does it cost to mail a postcard? 59 cents. So 59 cents.
Yeah,
So you could literally send how many postcards for $100? So it's like, how many times are we going to keep sending this? So the time's going to come, and when the time comes, they're going to remember your smiling face on your postcard. Yeah, it's literally, that's the hardest thing. Agents will get involved in this process. And to be honest, the first year, the first 2 years, it might not pay off. Like you might sell one house. Man, I put a lot of time into that. But real estate's not like the lottery. Like it's not, you're going to have to work. You're going to have to treat it as a job. You're going to have to show up and do the work. It will pay off because, like you just said, like you get frustrated. So people stop. I guarantee that most of these people that have teardowns have gotten 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 or 5 postcards from agents, and then the agents disappear. Very rarely does an agent follow up and follow up and follow up. I heard a crazy stat the other week that if you get a client, call the client, spoiler alert, they're probably not going to answer, but you're going to leave a voicemail. You're going to send them an email or send them a piece of mail. If you do that every month for 12 months, you're going to be in the top 1% of realtors for follow-up. Does that give you an idea how bad realtors are with follow-up? So it's literally just, it's instant gratification. It's not a lottery ticket where you're going to scratch off and win. It's going to be something where you actually have to follow up. But I'll tell you what, your first $1 million deal that you settle, you're going to say, okay, well, that was worth it. That was worth driving around and writing down phone numbers and email addresses and all that kind of stuff. And then the more you do it, the more you're going to have to be comfortable with what you're saying to people. And I tell you what, if you list a $1 million new construction, you're going to have buyers coming from everywhere. And you're going to build your business that way with those buyers. My place in Seattle that I listed, I had it on the market for 4 days, and I have 2 $750,000 to $950,000 buyers just from 5 days on the market. So it's a snowball. Right?
Right.
See how easy it is?
So you.
Having thick skin.
Started,
just working through everything.
And the thick skin, most of the time, the people aren't even going to be mean to you. They're just going to say, no, it's not the right time. No, my kids still use it. No, yada, yada, yada. The meanest thing somebody's ever said to me was, no, I'm going to die in my house. Okay. Like, all right. So
You don't need to explain to them the tax purposes that comes with that and everything other kids are gonna.
I mean, my first response was, I'll sell you a nicer house to die in. Like,
That's what I would say.
Yeah,
But
I'd be
yours
like,
isn't
okay.
nice, die in a nice house.
yeah, you can die in a house with a view. Like,
Yeah,
let me get you a
come
place
on,
with a
you're
view.
only for a year. Can't bring all that money with you.
Yeah. So
No hearse has a great truck behind
yeah. What am I missing?
Mhm. I don't like
it. She's gonna have a sugar attack.
Well, what are you trying? Oh, you're trying all lollipops?
Take her 4,000.
The mango ones are okay.
So scripts. If you use the same dialogue when you make your calls. You get used to it. You'll know when to pause, when to keep going. You'll know how to have the inflections, the tonality in your voice to make it like you're good at this. So it's, take a script. If Joe makes the calls, listen to Joe, see what Joe says.
That's why I told them. This way you had to fight the negative.
And you overcoming the objections. It is what it is. I mean, Kathy, you're amazing with scripts. I mean, but you get better the more you use them, right?
Exactly. It's natural conversation after a while. You don't even think about it. As soon as somebody has a question or an objection, you just spout out the answer without even thinking about it.
Well, the one I found out the other day,
Seen that one before.
Yeah.
What's
It's-
that?
remember the one, I said they want a condo, and I said, and my buddy says, oh, we don't all go to the one-day condo.
Yeah. So, I mean, with Kathy, with her scripts, I mean, she knows she's not afraid to make the calls because most of the objections she's heard before and she's overcome before. So it's going to be easy peasy, right?
Right. There's only so many ways they can say no.
Yeah.
Ice cream power market is gonna be for sale, just let you know.
What is?
One across the tomatoes. Ice cream donut place,
Oh, juniors.
the juniors.
What's the Goldberg selling that?
Yeah, I talked to them yesterday,
We could all buy a ice cream place.
2.5.
Oh my God.
By 2.5.
Because it has the deli next to it too, right?
No, don't go.
But he owns that whole
Yeah,
building.
it was the
right?
whole thing.
Alright.
It used to be Goldberg's
Yeah.
office.
Yeah.
Goldberg.
All right. So we're going to cut off here. We're going to make some more phone calls. And then next month, we are going to probably have another one of these meetings with feedback from phone calls, from letters. And we are going to work on overcoming those objections. Yep. Because I'm very curious on what the brigantine no's are, what the holdup is now. Especially in a market like this. I mean, it's a good time now because most of these people have been offered $400,000, $500,000 for their lot. Then the market tanked, and then they went back to 150 to 200,000 to 225, and now we're back up to the $400,000, $500,000 for a lot. So now we're back up there. So most of these people, are they willing to play the other game and say,
You don't want to miss it again. That's
Or-
what I told the one person.
Yeah. Yeah.
You gonna be alive long enough to miss it
well,
again?
yeah, exactly. So, so reach out, make phone calls, send letters, and then keep track of what the objections are. And we'll, next one, we'll overcome them. All right. Thank you, guys.